Welcome, everyone, to the Strengths Champion podcast. I'm your host, Brent O'Bannon, Master Certified Coach, and yes, the world's first Gallup Certified Strengths Coach. And as an organization and podcast, we love helping you to grow stronger, work smarter, and lead wiser. And today, I'm excited to have my guest and actual neighbor, Staci Witten, who is a professional certified coach. And also, she is the ICF, International Coaching Federation, Dallas chapter immediate past president.
Yes.
Kudos and welcome, Staci.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, even though I could have just come over to your house or you could have come over to my house, we're just going to Zoom it.
Yeah, that's the way life is right now, right?
It is. So, as we get started in this interview today, I have to share just a quick story. Communication is number 7 for me. It's a little lonely sometimes being an entrepreneur and even a service provider like a coach, a consultant. And many years I've been wanting to find friends that are geographically close to me. And no one has ever been here in this community that we built our house 20 plus years ago. And recently I heard from one of my neighbors, hey, Brent, I think one of our new neighbors is a coach just like you. And I said, oh, really? Okay. And there's a little skepticism there. Like, a lot of people use that term coach a lot. So anyway, Staci and I, her husband, my wife, Rhonda, all of the neighbors, we got together for a dinner, which was so phenomenal. And we actually discovered that we are both in the International Coaching Federation and fellow coaches, and that she was this president of the Dallas chapter. And here we are right across the street from each other. So any reactions, Staci?
Very true story. And, you talk to people who say they're a coach and you have to ask clarifying questions around that to learn what that means for them. And so I think you and I both went into that dinner ready to ask each other questions. And then when you said you were at MCC, I was like, oh, wow, he's my people.
Instant connection and bond there. So absolutely. And of course, we'll talk a little bit more about some collaboration that both of us are doing together. But first, let everyone know your experience taking the CliftonStrengths, aka StrengthsFinder assessment, and what that was like for you.
The first time I took it was around 2016-ish or so. And then I took it again with my fellow board members. We took it again, I believe it was in 2021 or 2022. It was 2022. And we wanted to maximize our strengths on the board for ICF North Texas. And what I found was my top 5 were still my top 5. They'd switched a little bit from 2015. And I'd also grown as a coach. I'd grown more in my business and my practice. And I'm sure that contributed to the changes there. But bottom line was those top strengths were still my top strengths.
And it's very natural. I tell a lot of people that if you retake the assessment, that sometimes 6 through 10 may bubble up and something in your top 5 may bubble down. And though Gallup's research shows that our talents are very stable over time, they really don't change. However, life events, different stages of career and life can definitely influence what strengths we use and maybe don't use as much. So sometimes you will see a little bit of a shift there.
Mm-hmm.
And your top 5 are strategic, futuristic, activator, relator, and belief.
Mm-hmm.
Talk
Exactly.
to us about how you use those in personal and professional life.
I think strategic being the first one and futuristic being the second one, those kind of go hand in hand, of course. But one of the reasons I say that is because when I do something, whether it's personally or professionally, I immediately think about, how can I repurpose this? How can I use this in another way? What would this look like if I did it this way? And I will take the best laid plans, and I will look forward with those plans, and my mind's automatically racing to figure out, okay, is this the best laid out way to do this? Is this the most strategic way to do this? Should we do it a different way? How's that going to impact X? How's that going to impact Y? Well, looking at the people that are involved, how will that impact them? So I'm constantly thinking in those terms. It can be exhausting sometimes. I am constantly thinking of that. And in my business, when I write something, when I video something, when I lead a group, when I facilitate, when I even coach, I'm thinking, how can I use this in a different way? How can I share this information? How can I help others with this issue? I'm constantly thinking ahead, and I'm constantly strategizing on what I can do more of.
Yeah, I can visualize that you have so many different thoughts, paths, ideas. I even see that ideation is number 9 for you.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So when you combine ideation with strategic and futuristic, those are strategic thinking themes that definitely have your head in the clouds, and also in the future. But it's very helpful for innovation, very helpful for being able to anticipate potential problems and even solutions to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
How about your activator?
Yeah. Well, activator, I think, I'll be honest, I'm still trying to figure out how to leverage that, because, of course, taking action is something I firmly believe in. And, staying still, you can have all these great ideas, but unless you take action on them and move forward with them. And I can, just the other day, this happened to me. I can come up with an idea and make it happen, but I might leave 5 or 6 people behind. And I have to think of the impact. And this happened just last week on a project. And I was going back to those people saying, I just pulled a Staci on you. I realize that. And I try to be very careful not to do that. But in my mind, I know the impact. I know why we're doing what we're doing, and we just got to do it. We just got to move forward. So, but one of those drawbacks is that communication piece. I got to make sure I'm communicating along the path.
Many people think that activator means you do it all yourself. And truly, activator is what we call an influencing talent theme. And so you catalyze other people. I'm sure that's part of what made you a great president and even business person, is you know how to catalyze and influence other people to help get things done where you don't have to do it all yourself.
Yes, I'm still working on that, though.
and that is so true for all of us, that as we champion strengths, that we're learning what I call strength sanctification. And that is, sanctification is a term meaning it's a process of maturing. It's a process of growing. So we're going from raw to refine with our talents and our strengths. And it's a lifelong process.
Definitely. And I'm not sure if it's one of my strengths that interferes with this, or if it's one of my personality traits. But a lot of times, I have skills in different areas, and because I can get bored easily, so I have to be very careful about that. And I will sometimes take something on myself before I'll ask others to bring them in. Now, as a leader, we all know that is part of being a good leader, to bring others into the picture. And so that's a constant for me that I have to keep top of mind.
Yeah. So to help us get to know you even better personally, relator is number 4 for you. So I'd love to learn more about who you are in your personal world, your relationships, your family. What would you like to share?
Sure. One of my two top values are faith and family. Mm-hmm. And I am a believer, and that is one of the things I keep top of mind constantly and on my journey. My family, I'm married. As you mentioned before, I live in Sherman. We spent many, many years in Plano, loved raising our daughter there. And eventually she got married and we moved closer to her. So we moved north near the border of Oklahoma. Never thought I would ever say that. But that's where we are now. And so I recently became a grandmother in August of last year. And so I have a sweet grandson that's 6 months old, just yesterday, actually. I'm a creative person as part of that ideation. I'm a very creative person. So right now we are in the process of building a she shed out back. And it was already a building structure there in place when we bought the house. And so now we're building it out to be a studio for me. And so I'm looking forward to that, to spend in my spare time, spend it out there with friends and neighbors and my daughter, and we'll be able to create a lot. As far as my education is a little bit different, and it's kind of how I got to where I am today. My education, I have a bachelor's in art, and it's actually in fashion design. And I worked in the fashion industry for a short period of time, and I realized I didn't have the personality for it. There were different things that happened, and it may have just been the company I was in, I don't know, but it did not mesh with my values where I was working. And so I always knew in the back of my mind I could go into human resources, and that's where I ended up. But what I learned in my college career as well as in my HR career is that a lot of times there's the square peg round hole syndrome, where we try to force people into a role that's just not right for them. And so we need to look to their strengths. We need to look to their gifts. We need to look to their skills. Where do they need to develop? But what do they already bring to the table? And help them grow and lead from that regard. So I became a coach after being in HR for a while, became an HR consultant and recruiter. I had my own practice. I was helping people find jobs. I was helping them figure out what they wanted to be when they grew up, even though they may have had 10, 15, 20 years experience. And decided I need to take that further. And that's why I became an ICF accredited coach, because it helps you go deeper into that conversation and really pull those strengths out of people and help them explore what their path and what their journey looks like and where to go from there. So since 2015, I've been doing coaching and absolutely feel like it's my calling.
Yeah, I can definitely sense that that love for people and desire to encourage and develop. Developer is actually one of your strengths, number 6, and positivity, woo. So yeah, you bring that fun-loving, humor, playful, and very charming presence wherever you go. So we appreciate that.
Well, thank you.
And then, you mentioned your faith.
Mm-hmm.
And so we are fellow believers, and love to hear maybe a summary of your faith journey to this point.
Wow. It's in my practice. It's I work with clients that are believers. I work with some that are of different faiths. I work with some that are not, that don't have that faith value. And I feel that God has called me. Whoever comes across my path is for a reason.
Mm.
And so whatever that call is about, whatever that message is for some reason, this person is in front of me, and there's a conversation that's going to happen. And it's not me, it's God, and he's leading me through that conversation. Before I work with clients, I make sure I'm centered in my faith. I make sure that it's not just myself and my client or clients. God is present as well. Mm-hmm. And I feel very strongly about that. Part of that's in my coaching education that helped me form that thought process and that belief. However, it fits for me. It's right for me. And so God might come into our conversations. He might not. But I know where my heart is. Mm. And it's there with purpose.
Yeah. I remember you also sharing with me that you actually, I think, did some ministry work at one point, and mm-hmm. share with us about that, and maybe even how you use some of your strengths in that work as well.
Yes. When we lived in Plano, I had the honor to serve in several leadership roles. Started off as, it was in the Methodist church. So it started off, just serving on church council, and then it grew into being the chair of church council. And then it grew into being lay leader, and using my strengths and my skills also as the staff parish relations committee chair, served on various committees. One of the things that was a calling during that time, especially as lay leader, was to help others in ministry, to help our laity see what their true gifts were, what their God-given spiritual gifts are, mm-hmm. and help them be able to apply those gifts. If somebody asked them to be on the finance committee and that made their stomach turn, well, why did it make your stomach turn? Let's look at your gifts and see where you should serve. And sometimes churches will plug and play. They'll plug someone into a position. And I think that's where it depends on the pastor, I think. It depends on your leaders and how they're shepherding. But I think that you have to know where your gifts will come into play and how you can serve in that capacity, because you might be, I'm not a finance person. And I even told my senior pastor, I said, I don't really want to go to these finance meetings. I'm not a finance person. I don't know what I'm doing. And he said, but you're an idea person. You're a creative person. Mm-hmm. And you can bring a different perspective to our discussion. And he was right. Some of them probably didn't like it, but I asked different questions than the accountant, than the finance person did.
Yeah, this whole area of strengths, whether it's CliftonStrengths and your spiritual gifts, is a fascinating discussion. And in fact, it's one that we will be together talking about in an upcoming Strengthspreneur 10X faith-based workshop. So this particular workshop is for service-based professionals, for small business owners, for coaches, consultants, creatives, and especially those that have a faith background. They want to better learn how to integrate Christ-centered and biblical principles. So learning about spiritual gifts and how spiritual gifts are different, yet maybe some similarities with strengths, is really important. But like you said, for myself, being in a church setting, a nonprofit setting, is a great place to hone our gifts and our strengths, and to serve others and learn leadership, learn teamwork. And so we always want to encourage all the folks that are listening to this podcast, take advantage of opportunities to serve in nonprofits. And not only are you going to be blessing other people, but you're going to be growing your own strengths and skills in the process.
Definitely.
Let's segue for a moment into a little bit more of the business side. When you've said you've been a part of different businesses, I'd love to hear some more details of the types of businesses you've been in, maybe some of your lessons learned in business.
Yeah, definitely. I've definitely learned to be Christ-centered in business.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very important. It helps bring your authentic self and who you truly are to the table, because you have something to share with others, and it's a gift to be able, and a blessing to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
As far as my business background goes, I've owned multiple businesses, and I've also served in multiple businesses in different industries. I've worked in various industries, including healthcare, hospitality, finance, in the banking industry, service industry, of course, also pharmaceuticals. It's a wide range. You can see my LinkedIn profile. It outlines all of those. But for each client, for each company I worked with, and for each business I had, I brought my gifts and myself to each venture. One other thing that I noticed was, something about my background in owning multiple businesses years and years ago, when a few years after my husband and I were married, when we first moved to Plano, I started a Craft of the Month Club subscription. And it was a way to tie in my creativity and my strategy and my business sense. It was nationwide. We actually shipped all over the world, but we shipped to military bases. So it was still, I consider, nationwide. And we were in Good Housekeeping and Dallas Morning News and several TV stations. So it was a great experience. I got all kinds of developed some different skills that I never thought I'd have the opportunity to do. Then, of course, 9/11 happened after that, and a lot of businesses changed. So I've also owned my HR consulting business. And at one point, to give back, my husband and I purchased a home care agency where we served seniors and those that needed assistance with activities of daily living. We'd go into their homes, and we had just under 50 employees. We hired caregivers. And one thing that made us different than any other home care agency, and our clients knew it, was we would ask our clients certain questions, and I trained our nursing team how to do this. And we would ask our caregivers certain questions. And it was based on their personality styles and their strengths. So we would match clients to caregivers, and it worked. And we did some other things with that later, but once we sold the company, but it was, it made a difference in people's lives that we were serving. So it was interesting to be able to tie that in.
It sounds like one of the most important pieces of any business development and success is having the right talent and the right fit and also customers, really having the right providers even serve the customers.
Exactly.
So that's a big part, I think, of whether it's a small business or a large business. As we get ready for this collaboration, you and I will be on March 1st co-facilitating this workshop, which is virtual. And so it's going to be very experiential. There'll be plenty of breakouts. There'll be plenty of opportunities to interact. There'll be some tools, resources that people will be able to utilize as well. And it's actually going to be from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central Time. So we will have breaks, a little bit of lunch in between there. But there will be 10 areas of business that we'll actually go through. And I call this my 10X business tool. And so we'll actually go into vision. We'll talk about strategy as a business. We'll talk about cash. Talk about your product and services. We'll talk about marketing and sales. We'll talk about what I call your crew, which is your small team that helps you in your business, whether that's an employee or 1099 workers. We'll talk about customers and how to create that customer engagement, how to build the culture that you want. Even in your small service-based business, you want your values and your culture to differentiate you from other folks. And then I think one of the most important pieces that people forget about when they have their own business is your lifestyle. And your lifestyle is, you don't want to just work yourself into a job. You want to make sure that you're having time for self-care, for your well-being, to spend time playing with your grandkids, walking your pets, whatever you want to do. If you want to play more tennis or golf, or maybe you want to volunteer in your nonprofit. So what did you say, Staci?
Vacation.
Or vacations, yeah. Or sometimes what we call workations, where you have a little bit of work with a lot of vacation. But we'll definitely talk about not only how we'll integrate our own strengths into these 10 parts of business, but we'll talk about how Jesus, even through biblical examples, fulfilled each of these 10 areas of business. So, yeah, anything you'd like to say about that to your friends, to anyone that's listening?
Yeah, bringing in the biblical components, and you do a great job with that, as well as overlaying the strengths component. So it goes back to that square peg round hole. You don't have to feel like you can't do something because you don't have a certain strength. We'll talk about how you leverage your strengths in order to accomplish something and accomplish those goals. And it goes back to, how can you be your true, authentic self and have a successful business?
Yes.
And faith is probably one of your values. So how do we bring that in? How do we bring all your values in as well? So I think it's an opportunity that we don't see that often. So if you're hearing something that stands out to you, then let's talk further. Well, I'm sure you're putting the link out there for everyone to sign up. But this is a really good opportunity to bring in who you truly are into your business and let it shine.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. Is how can you shine in your business? How can you help your people that work with you shine? And what we want around here is that we are called as strengths champions to help people flourish. And when you flourish in your professional life as well as your personal life, the world is a better place.
Absolutely.
And so, Staci, thank you so much for, opening up your life and your life story, your wisdom with us today. Let people know what's the best way to connect with you.
Definitely reach out on LinkedIn, send me a message, and let's connect. You can also send me an email. I'll go back and put it in the comments, but at staci@staciwitten.com, or reach out to Brent, and Brent can get me the message as well.
Yeah, LinkedIn is always a great place, I think, for a lot of us. So find us LinkedIn, also staciwitten.com. And of course, BrentO'Bannon.com is my website. And we will have that link for the Strengthspreneur 10X faith-based workshop in the notes so that you can share that with your friends. Maybe you have some colleagues. If you are a coach, a consultant, really anyone that serves people. And so if you're hungry and you want some strategy, some tools, resources, and some networking with each other, then you will love this March 1st workshop that Staci and I are collaborating with. So everyone, until next time, keep championing strengths to grow stronger, work smarter, and lead wiser. Take care, everyone.
Bye.